Dave Chappelle is back in it again. Netflix signed him to this unbelievable deal. He gets $20 million a special reportedly with them. And they're amazing. I mean, the Netflix special he did, Sticks and Stones, was just epic and possibly the best comedy routine I've ever seen. It's just, he just did all the stuff you want a comedian to do. He touched all the third rails unabashedly, cleverly. There were brilliant intellectual traps in the whole thing. It was just so well done. And now he comes out again with the latest special, and he takes aim at this whole, there's no such thing as biological sex thing, and says openly, I side with J.K. Rowling, who had made a point to that effect earlier that got her, you can't cancel J.K. Rowling, but people were upset in the trans community. And here's a clip of Dave Chappelle and what's causing sort of a shitstorm in his world and Netflix's now too.
And they've canceled people that are more powerful than me. They canceled J.K. Rowling. My God, J.K. Rowling wrote all the Harry Potter books by herself. She sold so many books, the Bible worries about her. And they canceled her because she said in an interview, and this is not exactly what she said, but effectually, she said gender was a fact. And then the trans community got mad as shit. They started calling her a TERF. I didn't even know what the fuck that was. But I know that trans people make up words to win arguments. So I looked it up. TERF is an acronym. Stands for Trans Exclusionary Radical Feminists. This is a real thing. This is a group of women that hate transgender. They don't hate transgender women, but they look at trans women the way we blacks might look at blackface. It offends them. Like, ooh, this bitch is doing an impression of me. Now, I shouldn't speak on this because I am not a woman, nor am I a trans. But as we've established, I am a feminist. That's right. I'm Team TERF. I agree, man. Gender is a fact.
Team TERF. And now a group of trans employees and others are going to be staging a walkout next week from Netflix. This after a few of them stormed some meeting of executives, and then all three promptly got suspended. They allowed one trans employee who stormed to come back because they said she didn't realize that she wasn't supposed to be doing that. And the Netflix CEO, Ted Sarandos, has said, I don't believe this crosses a line on our policy against programming that is hateful or promotes violence. What do you make of it?
Well, look, as far as the trans people or their allies, another word that I can't stand, as far as them walking out, I mean, Netflix, in my opinion, at this point would have the right to fire them. Like, you cannot bring politics everywhere. If you work at Netflix, you understand that you work for this streaming service. And guess what? They put up comedy and they put up some horror movies and they put up action movies and things that might upset you and things that might make you laugh and might make you happy and all of those things. And if you think, much like we're seeing this in the publishing world all the time, where, when Jordan Peterson's second book got announced, half of Penguin Random House, which is my publishing company, by the way, when they, all these young publishers walked out. And it's like, what world are you people in? You don't get to decide all of these things because you're 22 and you've been unfortunately brainwashed by, some really horrible education that has led you to believe that you own the world when you're just really starting on your adventure on the world. As far as Chappelle, what's interesting about that, if you listen to his cadence and the tone in his voice, it almost really doesn't sound like a comedy special. It was brilliant, by the way. Everything, and of course, what he said there was true. We can talk about the biology in just a sec. But, if you listen to just the general tone and tenor of it, you can see how evil what the social justice warriors have done to America is. Because here you have the guy who's basically considered the best living stand-up comic in the entire world, where he's sort of on the defensive the entire time. He clearly had to write that special going, oh man, I know they're going to come after me for some basic stuff. So I'm going to have to do work. I mean, a lot of that special felt like him just doing work, just not to get destroyed after. And then ironically, of course, they're going to go after him either way. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, try to imagine if Dave Chappelle did a stand-up special that they put out a week ago on Netflix and it wasn't controversial. It would not be funny. That's the point.
Yeah, no, he'll go anywhere. And I guess he appeared at some venue publicly post this dust up, and there were all these A-list Hollywood stars there in the audience supporting him. They gave him a standing ovation, and he said something to the effect of, if this is what it's like to be canceled, I love it, right? Cancel me all day long. Unfortunately for regular Americans, that's not what it feels like to be canceled. You don't have an A-list audience of celebrities standing on their feet and applauding you. You lose your job and you get pushed out of the public square and you get pushed out of, sort of your social circles. And it's incredibly painful to express a simple view like J.K. Rowling's, which is, I think there are women and there are trans women and that they're not the same thing.
Well, Megyn, it's actually even more perverse than that, because when the A-list Hollywood celebrities give him a standing ovation and, oh my God, you're telling the truth and it's so wonderful, fantastic, hallelujah. These are the same people who spend all day on Twitter and every interview they doing pushing these progressive policies. These are the ones who have basically, I'm here in LA, right? I live outside of Hollywood. These are the people who have destroyed all of the schools where you're not allowed to say that a boy is different than a girl and this basic stuff. And J.K. Rowling, I mean, if you look at her Twitter threads about this, she did it in the most subtle, decent, non-combative way, just saying there are biological differences. That's it. Not saying I don't want trans people to exist, not saying I don't want them to be treated right or respectfully or find love or feel accomplished or anything else. All she said is there are biological differences. Megyn, you know that we're going through surrogacy right now. I can tell you this. When they take a sperm, right, and they take an egg and they put those things together, in about 3 days, if you do genetic testing, which we have done, they tell you, oh, we can tell you the sex of all the embryos. So is my fertility doctor, who's been doing this for 30 years, is he a right-wing maniac for telling me that there's a difference between... Right. You get the point. Is this guy either a maniac? Is it possible that he's actually the scientist? I mean, it's not easy to take a sperm and an egg. These are small things with a microscope, put them together, create life. That's pretty tricky. So who's right? Is it that guy that I'm paying a lot of money to do this modern miracle? Or is it the activist who's angry over a word? I think the average person can figure that out.